Buddhism is not the property of any particular culture. Buddhism's directing itself to discovering the true nature of things. And, well, the true nature of things is the true nature of things. It's the way things are, wherever you are, whatever the culture is. So Buddhism directs itself to discovering that true nature. In principle, you could say it's not just for Asians, it's not just for Westerners, it's not just for human beings even. In principle, anywhere that consciousness arises, and especially anywhere that self-consciousness arises, Buddhism could be there. Because Buddhism shows the way in which you can mature your consciousness to the point at which you discover, you see the true nature of things. So that in principle means that we must accept that any culture is, any person from any culture is capable of understanding the truth. The question then arises, well, how do you communicate with people from different cultures? Well, of course, you communicate with them taking into account their own particular cultural manners, customs, languages, and so forth.
It's also quite easy in this movement to be in touch with hundreds of people from different parts of the world, and that's very inspiring. It gives a sense of community, and there's some pretty interesting characters around the globe.
Learned a lot about myself as a New Zealander in comparison to other people, having to work so closely with people of different cultures and things has really opened my eyes in terms of my own conditioning in a way that I don't think I would if I hadn't been working in such a diverse and culturally different situation.
And also, in some parts of the world, Buddhism is much better developed and the movement's much better developed, and they're doing things that we haven't yet got around to doing, but they provide inspiration and ideas about what we could do in the future, so that's very important too.
New Zealand's from a predominantly westernised country with some Polynesian influence, and I think because of that there's an ease of communication with what is currently the main hub of the movement in Europe, but there's also a certain freshness of approach. I think the big factor is the lack of assumptions about what can be done or cannot be done.
Because we live in a culture that's quite well off, we are actually able to get ourselves involved in the community as well as being able to teach the Dharma. But that also detracts in a way because it's so good to be here. It's very easy to skirt around the edges and not put a lot of work into practicing meditation and in learning the Dharma.
One of the aspects of New Zealanders, which is both a strength and a weakness, is their individuality. We're not long out of pioneering stock, and I think there's a strong sense of doing one's own thing.
Our friendliness, I believe there's something like between 20 and 30 New Zealand Order members in England. We'd like to have them back here.
I'd be very keen to introduce more Maori to the movement and encourage a bit of Maori culture in our centres, and when that happens maybe there'll be something that's distinctively New Zealand as opposed to sort of quasi-European.
I think it's great being a part of an international movement in the sense that, for me personally, it's been pretty mind-expanding to contact other cultures in India and the UK and to understand how those cultures affect the way people see the world and the way they practice Dharma.
I see a real spirit of just dedication and perseverance, really, no matter what. The Dharma is going to survive here.
Taking an idea and running with it, seeing things through to completion, never giving up, persevering, improvising, being willing to think in new terms, going in new directions.
Generally pretty independent people and willing to try new things and to experiment and to break new ground. And they're also generally very open and friendly and curious, willing to look into different ways of thinking and pretty keen to try things like meditation and puja.
I've seen cases of people driving 3 hours to go to a mitra class or driving 2 hours to meet up with a friend and really not think much of it because these are our conditions. That kind of inner strength and conviction, once you really apply it to something, can be a real positive, a real strength.